to talk about apprenticeships and how it can help us in building a resilient workforce that really will outlast or stand in any economy. Whether we're in a growing economy, we can use apprenticeships to recruit. Whether we're in a changing economy and skills are changing, we can use it to upskill and reskill. And I just want you to see the value of, even in the type of economy that we have now, we may not be growing as quickly. There are some sectors that have continued to grow while others have started to retract. But the skills gap still remains a challenge. And in some ways, we might even say that it could even be increasing because people are looking for new careers who have been in jobs or occupations that previously they were successful at, but they're no longer able to work in those anymore because of the changing economy. So we want to talk about apprenticeships today and how that can be used as a tool to help us in any economy. The one thing that you will see today is the amount of support that we have for apprenticeships moving forward. There's really a lot taking place here in the state. For those of you that are not aware, I was appointed as the Commissioner of Apprenticeship Programs for the state of Utah in August of last year. This is a new position to this state, and it was part of the legislation last year that implemented this position, but really it was because we saw the value that apprenticeships can have in growing our workforce, retraining our workforce, building a pipeline that helps us to have a continued and sustained workforce. So you'll see a lot of activity that's happening. We have a new network, and this business-to-business workshop or webinar is a part of that network. And we'll be doing these on a quarterly basis so that we can actually have businesses speak to businesses and let them know about what their experience has been, what best practices they've been able to develop, what are some challenges or barriers that they've needed to overcome, and any advice that they might have for you as you look at building programs within your individual companies. So we really look to be a value, and we've established this network where we're going to be developing resources that we can use when we're talking to parents, to guidance counselors, to high school teachers, to students, to job seekers, individuals of any age that might be unaware of apprenticeship opportunities or aware and just not know how to get involved or what the value is for them. So we want to make sure that we provide the resources for you as businesses to develop your programs, but the resources to also connect people to the programs that you build. So I'm just really excited because I think you'll see a lot of cool things happening within the state over the next year or so, and really even advancing moving forward. One of the things that I think we really need to establish initially is what an apprenticeship is. Apprenticeship has been a buzzword for so long that really everyone wanted to be a part of it. But when we look at some programs, we see that what they may have is an internship rather than an apprenticeship. And apprenticeship is really a training strategy that combines the classroom training with on-the-job learning skills to help prepare people for the highly skilled occupations or demand that you have as employers, and so that we can help train people. This unique training model offers paid on-the-job training because it is work. They are an employee. They still receive the classroom training, but they are receiving the mentoring on the job and connecting that classroom training to what they're learning. So it's really a real life experience in connecting the dots. Really, you're learning a skill or a concept, and then you get to see how it directly applies to the job right then and there because it's a part of your program. You will see that individuals can receive pay increases for skill attainment, which is pretty much how employers usually pay people now, right? If people advance in their careers or are promoted or they go from a level 1 to a level 2, they might be on the line and they go to a lead worker, they become a supervisor. That's really kind of advancing or showing that you're increasing your skill set and being compensated for those things. And then the fifth element that's really important in an apprenticeship is that they receive a certification that is industry recognized. If it's a registered apprenticeship, it's even recognized nationally through the Department of Labor. And employers in other states that see that you have had this type of training recognize that it was valuable and it was rigorous, and it's something that they can accept in their state as well. You will also see that as we build apprenticeship programs, we're starting to connect more of them earlier on, from youth all the way through adulthood, and starting in high school and moving forward. But you'll also see how apprenticeships can be used as a college completion strategy. Normally, we've thought about them as being two totally separate things, right? There's been a really big push for four-year degrees, but we also want to show the value of apprenticeship programs and how you can get into a great career without a four-year degree. But along the way, you could be receiving credits towards a degree, so that if in fact you do change course or you want to advance even further in your career within your company into a position that might require a degree, well, now you've got some credit towards that. You've got some training that has been established. It's been directly related to your employment, and now you're receiving credit that you can go on and continue into a degree and complete that if you would like to as well. So rather than take up too much of your time, I'm going to get out of here for a minute. Can you guys think I've got you back? Okay, great. Again, I'm getting better, a little better at my technology skills, but really, rather than just hear from me, I think it's really important that we hear from our industry partners. So we have with us today Matt Wardle with JD Machine. For this main panel, we also have Jake Sorensen with McNeil's Automotive, and Scott McKinnon is here with the Associated Builders and Contractors. So Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about your program and your experience with JD Machine and why you got involved with apprenticeships?
We had our registered apprenticeship back in 1999, and we were quite a different company at that time. I think we had about 15 people on our staff. We're now around 200. At that time, I was trying to put systems in place in the business to help with training, and quite frankly, I got kind of tired of people coming saying, hey, I need more money. And I would say, then it was just a judgment call on my part. We hired a fellow who'd worked in a very, very small company under a German fellow who had a standard European apprenticeship. And he came to us and said, hey, I'd like to finish that. Turned out that apprenticeship hit a lot of the high points for us. Our quality management system is registered to the ISO 9000 standard. And one of the requirements of that is to have training records. We also saw it as an opportunity to have structure to our training system. And we found that, it took that burden off of people knew exactly what they needed to do to advance in their career and earn more money. It took pressure off of me. So we saw this as an opportunity to really provide structure to our training of our people and an attractive system where people knew what they could do, what they needed to do to increase both in skills and value and pay. And so we launched at that time, and it was really a machinist-directed team where our skilled machinists decided what a journey level machinist would need to know and understand. And so we documented that. The approval process through the DOL was really quite easy. And I'll just add that we were supported by one of our customers, Parker Hannafin, who had developed this. And they gave us a lot of their information, basically a roadmap. So our training program is a JD Machine specific 8,000 hour apprenticeship certified by the DOL. And it's, I'm happy to report, it's evolved over time. And it's what we show that we need. Sometimes we'll find that we have an issue on our shop floor. We'll get into the root cause of that issue and find that it was a training problem. And so we'll fold that body of knowledge into the apprenticeship, document it, and going forward, it's a great corrective action to an issue we found, and helps standardize what any person who's involved with our apprenticeship brings to their job. And so it's really been powerful, and I'm quite often known to go out on the shop floor and talk with our folks and say, hey, let me pay you more money. And they know exactly what I'm talking about. I can find out where they're at in their progression through the apprenticeship, ask them about their mentor, ask them about their education. We're partnered with Ogden Weaver Tech and Davis Tech for the classroom instruction for our apprenticeship. And we've actually been able to recruit people from out of state who have been looking for someone with a certified apprenticeship program. When a person's done, we make a big deal about it. We have an all-hands meeting. We get their DOL certificate framed, and we actually have this really cool Carhartt coat. It's a little bit like the Masters, where only journey-level machinists get this coat, and their mentor has the coating ceremony, and so it's really a badge of honor on their work attire. There's a special patch that they can wear that shows JD Machine, a certified journey level machinist.
So what I'm hearing is you've been able to use this apprenticeship program to fill a skills gap and to show a career path within your company, and people know that if they want to grow within your company, they participate in your apprenticeship program.
Yes, yeah, and not everybody is as motivated as I would like them to be. So we've actually produced another system that's a machinist. It's a machinist skill set, and it's structured similar. It's not quite as rigorous, but those folks that are really wanting to take every opportunity, those are the folks that are in our machinist apprenticeship. And just recently, in the last couple of years, we've produced an apprenticeship for welders. So we really like it, and it's a place where those that are really trying to advance their careers are gravitated to. And folks from outside, it's been a recruiting tool.
Great. Hey, Jake, I know that you have had your apprenticeship program for a little bit longer than Scott has. We're going to go to Scott later since he's new to the space. But can you share with us kind of how you got involved, why you got involved, the benefit that it's been to your company?
Yeah, so there's a pretty big national technician shortage right now for automotive technicians. And we would put ads out to try and find technicians when we needed them. And we'd get very few applicants. The few that we did get just were not qualified. They weren't producing the quality of work that we wanted in our shop. So we really didn't know what to do to find people to do the work that we needed or wanted. So we turned to apprenticeships. We were actually contacted by a gentleman at the adult education here in Utah. His name's Mark Mattia. And he kind of mentioned the apprenticeships. We had something similar to an internship like you had just mentioned. And he mentioned that we could, get that certified and put in more structured training and turn it into an apprenticeship. So he put us in touch with a lot of people like Alexia Murphy that helped us to put this program together. And we found out that we get a lot more dedicated people that come into the apprenticeships because they come in knowing that they need to learn, not that they already know everything. They know that they're there to learn how to do this job right. They're going to go through all the steps. They're going to take all the training, and they really take a lot more pride in what they do. And so we found that our apprentices, after they graduate the 2-year program, for the most part, are better than a lot of the technicians that we had applying that had been in the trade for many years. So we have a better quality of technician now. The training that's taken place in our shop has really been contagious as well. So the older technicians are seeing these apprentices learning, and they're learning new techniques that they don't know. And so they're kind of nipping on their heels that they want to learn more, and they're progressing faster as well. So it's kind of created this atmosphere of learning in the shop as well for the others. It's not just the apprentices that are progressing.
That's great. So we can see what a value it has been to your new workforce, but also your existing workforce, in giving them that challenge to become better and lifelong learners, like you mentioned. So that's great. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about your experience? And I know this has been new this past year, and so you're fresh out of the water of trying to set one up. And so I think it'd be great to hear from you your perspective and how that's worked out for you.
Sure. So when we first, we've been involved with education throughout, but we never really structured it beyond giving them a class and then they take it back and whatever they can apply, they can apply. There was really no measurement device behind it. And then we started getting some things in place. Salt Lake County put in an ordinance that is required to have a registered apprenticeship program. And that really started moving the needle to where we needed to be involved in this deeper than we were. We were very fortunate to be able to reach out to you and Alexia and Pat and get the direction, the information, the help, call it whatever you'd like, to make sure that we were checking the right boxes and putting the right things in place. And to try and attract individuals into construction is in the field that we're in. It's tough. It's a tough sell because everybody wants to build, game platforms or do whatever they want to do and play with phones. And there's still a lot of guys out there and girls out there that want to be able to do stuff with their hands and say, hey, I built that. And so it's how do we capture them and how do we give them the path to be successful? With putting an apprenticeship program in place and getting those individuals through the education and the skills evaluations and the practical application of, we're creating more successful candidates, we're getting a better product for the end user, which is the employers. And I can't imagine not having something like this set up and structured, because everybody wins when we go down this model. It gives them, this is when you're going to make more money, this is how you're going to expedite your path, this is all the pieces of this. It's structured, much like was stated earlier. It takes the pressure off because you know exactly when their next step level is or when their next raise or increase is. What do they know? They've completed this model or this module. What should they know at the end of this? Did they pass that? If they did, then they should have the ability to apply this in their day-to-day operations, and you can trust them with more and they can do more. So all the pieces, again, without having the resources of Department of Workforce and Department of Labor, Melissa, Alexia, Pat, without having you all there to help support, I'd still probably be trying to figure out which page to look at next. So, props to you guys. I thank you for all your help. It's been amazing, and couldn't have done it without you.
We thank you too, Scott, because you set up your program right before and during the pandemic. And so yeah. we understood that was going to be a challenge for some. And we were a little worried that we wouldn't see as many programs being developed. And so we were really excited that you were still able to continue through with that. And so it didn't take you, long, as I recall, and you now have 5 different apprenticeship programs. Is that correct?
We have 10 standards currently 10. In place right now. Yeah. So Great. Basically we can service most of our main pieces of industry as far as a intermediary group to, pass through to the Department of Labor, and the education with, partnering with Davis Tech, Ogden Weber, Salt Lake Community, the education facilities, making sure that they have the right coursework in place to support these, and if they don't, they're getting them back in, because they've not canceled them or removed them, but they've just kind of put them on the shelf, and now they're bringing them all back. So we're creating more opportunities for educators, industry. Everybody's winning by doing this. So it's been a very, very fruitful path for us to take.
And Jake, do you use one of the education and training institutions here, or do you guys provide your own training, classroom training?
So ours is through ourselves and through NAPA. They have a online training that does a big portion of it, and then they have instructor-led classroom training that they do about once a month. Right now, it's obviously virtual, not in person anymore. But and then we worked with NAPA to actually film a lot of the video training that we were doing as well. So we have about 3 different types of training that they take, but it's all through our own, because we really weren't successful when we approached the community college and some of the local colleges to try and work through offering training through this. They really just told us, hey, we'll send them here to take the program. And we wanted something that worked with our apprenticeship, something that was kind of in line. So they're learning the book portion of it and then applying it hands-on that same day or that same week. And we just weren't successful in working with them to find something. So we kind of had to build it ourselves and work with NAPA, who already had a lot of training put together in that area.
That's great. And, the reason I asked you in particular about that is because I really want employers to see that an apprenticeship program is not a one-size-fits-all. Each of you are all in different industries. Each of you all have different types of programs, and models are very different. Some are 2 years, some are 4 years. There's everything in between. Some use the tech schools for the related training portion or the classroom portion, and others use their own in-house training. And so I feel that that's really important for employers to understand, that there are different types of models that can be used as they develop out your own programs. So before we go into the breakout sessions, I want to give all 3 of you the opportunity to maybe give either a piece of advice, to encourage employers that are looking at developing apprenticeship programs, and what that might look like for them, or the value that they might see within their company. Why should they consider this? Matt, let's start with you, then we'll go to Jake, then we'll go to Scott.
I think it's important to understand you're getting into a fairly arduous process. I mean, it's possible to do it from a very skeletonized layout, and that's kind of what we did. But it was a long-term deal, and it wasn't something that would run on its own. So allocating enough resources to make it successful, I think, is the really important part of this, and it requires upper management buy-in, because that's what allocates resources. So having the entire organization dedicated to this really is successful. Otherwise, your team may just look at it as a flavor of the week. Finding best practices is really important. We benefited from a customer who had an apprenticeship. I'd be happy to speak with anyone who would like some details on how we did it, what tools we used to document and review this, and maybe if your business matches some things that we do, I'd be happy to share some of our bear stories. But just generally partner. We're very fortunate to have the tech college system in Salt Lake Community College here in Utah. I talk with colleagues across the country who don't have that kind of resource. Tap into that. That's really, really powerful.
Thank you, Matt. Jake?
I'd probably say there's 2 big things that I would suggest, or I wish somebody would have kind of told us at the beginning. First of all, reach out to as many people who can help you as possible. And there's really 3 categories of people we found help with. That was the government agencies. So the people like you, Alexia Murphy, your group, to help. I would say if you don't know the right people to call or contact, just start calling, because they'll put you in touch with the right people and get you where you need to be. So reach out there. The next would be schools in your area. Like I had mentioned, we didn't have the best luck with the tech schools or the colleges, but we did get a lot of help from the adult education. down the street from our shop, and they're a very close partner with us. We work with them on putting together a pre-apprenticeship program, and they give us a lot of ideas on where to go to get the help we need or the training. And then last, your industry partners. So whatever industry you're in, I'm sure you have a lot of partnerships that you work with. For example, I mentioned that we work with Napa pretty closely. We used a lot of the training that they had available. And after doing so, they found out about our apprenticeship program and actually modeled it for a national program that they launched last year. And with that, it's afforded us a lot of new resources to offer to our apprentices. So take advantage of your industry relationships as well. There's probably a lot out there. And then the second big point I would make is to try and find something that's already made, or at least something, somewhat there for you to build off of. Don't try and build this thing from scratch if you don't have to. I mean, you might find that you do for the industry you're in, but the more that you can find set up and ready for you, take advantage of it, because there's a lot of work, a lot of processes that have to be put in place, a lot of training that has to be found, and do yourself a favor and just work off of what somebody else has started or built for you.
Great advice, Jake. Scott?
Well, my first suggestion is call you, and that's realistically if you're on the outside looking in and you're seeing this conglomerate of information and you're trying to sort through it, there's a lot easier way to get through it, and that's call the experts if you're trying to start something, and that's Melissa, Alexia, Pat, call your local offices, much like Jake said. Get some information. They'll give you guidance. They'll help you along the way. Again, if that were unavailable to me, I'm not sure that we would even be partway started, let alone having standards in place and ready to go. I guess the second piece to this is when you have to find out what the industry needs. We're currently, this last year they had a proposal for the Apprentice Utilization Act they're creating a mandate in order to have so many apprentices on each job site that's a state or municipality. And that was also a little bit more of the fire under our feet to get things moving, to ensure that we could help support industry in those arenas. Whether or not that comes to be, further than just Salt Lake County, I don't know. But that is something that we absolutely, it made it real for us, and it also made it to where there was a sense of urgency. And I think it's not a matter of if, I really believe it's a matter of when that gets put in place. And, at this point in time, we'll be ready when it does go active. So if you guys need help with anything, again, reach out to your support team of the DWS and the Department of Labor, Pat and Alexia and Melissa, of course, and they're the greatest resource you could possibly ask for. So.
Thank you, Scott. Jake, you hit on a really key thing that I just kind of wanted to reemphasize. If you don't need to reinvent the wheel, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Honestly, there are over 1,000 approved standards for occupations that are considered apprenticeable right now and available to you. And so when you reach out to people like Alexia and I, we can work with Pat to identify through your job descriptions what occupation relates to what we call the RAPIDS code, or the Office of Apprenticeship Code, because they have the work processes and what should be learned on the job and what should be learned in the classroom already established to share with you. And you can take that into your company and say, this is what we do. We do this, this, and this. Let's keep this in here. We don't do this anymore, so let's take that out. Oh, and we also started adding or doing this in our company, or we have this new certification, and we can just add to it. And so that makes it really nice, and it makes it easier for an employer because they don't feel so overwhelmed when they realize that there are those resources there to help them. So just know that we will work on that with you. And if there isn't one, then we'll work to establish one. We'll see what's the best fit and what is the closest so that we can get you started while we continue to build out the program and have one that's approved specifically for that occupation. So great point to bring that up. I think we're going to switch up our plan a little bit. We were going to break out into 2 different breakout sessions, but I know that everybody's really intrigued by both. One of them is going to provide a little bit more in-depth information about the components of apprenticeships and the resources that are available here to you as employers and how that can help you, and also youth apprenticeships and where we're going with that. So if you're good with this, Alexia, I think I will jump into the youth apprenticeship portion so we can talk about the 2 different models, being adults and youth, and then we can wrap up with the resources that you have to offer. Does that sound okay?
That'll be great.
Great. So with us today that have been working with youth very successfully, we have Brian McCurdy here with Hughes General Contractors, and we have Lucy Andre and Noemi Weber from Stadler Rail. 2 very different types of models of what they've been working with, and so I really want them to share their experience with you and why they feel working with youth is important. Here, here the average age range for an apprentice is 25 to 34, and in Utah it's about the 25 range, 25 years old. But how great would it be if we could really capture those individuals in high school that know that this is what they want to do? If they know what career path they have in mind, then why not allow them the chance and the opportunity and connect them with employers that will help them get into that career sooner? The beauty of the apprenticeship program that Stadler Rail is working with is they're starting students in high school. They're getting credit towards their high school graduation. They get credit at Salt Lake Community College, and they're working for Stadler Rail. And with Brian and Hughes, they've been working with schools for a really long time to provide work-based learning and internship opportunities, and really trying to guide them into the apprenticeship programs. So we really look at this as an opportunity when students are doing some career exploration at the junior high level, middle school, maybe even into 9th and 10th grade. We really want them to have as many experiences as they can and use that time to maybe jump around a little bit, right? College is a very expensive time and resource and effort to be going into a program just to find out that it's something that you don't want to do or that you don't like, and then try to change course, right? And how many people, you know, and this is a rhetorical question, but yet it's kind of, it does some honest thinking too. How many people are working in their field of study when they've gone to college? Not as many as we would like to see. And we know that the college graduation rate annually is 33%, and that's for someone that finishes within 6 years. Those that go through an apprenticeship program are guaranteed to be working in their field of study. They're getting the experience. They build themselves a career path where they can lead to family-sustaining wages. And again, possibly get credit towards that degree. And the graduation rate for an apprentice is in the 45% range. So that's higher than it is for college. It still sounds a little low, but one of the things that I think we need to understand is when we take numbers, sometimes numbers are just numbers, right? And when you compare how many people are entering into an apprenticeship and how many are completing on an annual basis, that gives us a number, but it doesn't always correlate in how it should be, because these programs might be 2-year programs or 4-year programs, and you might be having more students enter 1 year versus the next year, and you don't know when they were supposed to complete that program. So I would dare say that 45% range is still a little low. When we look at some of the construction programs or some of the individual programs, and we look at the program completion rate rather than the annual completion rate, we usually see upwards of 90%. And we also see a 94% retention rate within your company when they've participated in an apprenticeship program. Who doesn't want results like that, right? And so if we can get to high school students and get them started in their career earlier on, we just think that's even greater. So Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys have done and where you started and where you see things going?
So we've done a great intro, by the way. We've done a lot of work with the high schools. What we found, one of our stumbling blocks has been the communication between the high schools and the employer. For example, when we say apprentice, it means something different to us than it does to the high school. So trying to educate the counselors, trying to educate the teachers, trying to educate the students as to what an apprenticeship really is, what it does, what it means has been one of those challenges. And I think back on, I've got an 18-year-old right now who's gone everything from I want to be a pediatric neurologist to I want to be a cop. And apprenticeships are amazing if you can get the kids connected in and get them to see the value and understand. What we've found is that along the way is that the high school students just expect an apprenticeship. They expect to walk in for 40 hours and make a lot of money, and they walk away and they've got all the knowledge that they need. And for us, it doesn't work that way. But it does give them some exposure, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of show them along the way what they can learn and what they have access to. That's been one of the great things for us, as well as the building of the industry. Construction the trades are being lost a bit, and we'd like to see it as a whole. So we enter the apprenticeship program with the perception of this is for everybody in construction, not just Hughes.
Great, that's awesome. And really that leads us right into the Stadler Rail model and looking to really advance careers of students within the industry. They know that they're benefiting as a company, but they know that they also need to help their suppliers and other industry partners that they may work with, because it just makes the industry stronger as a whole. And Noemi and Lucy, I want to turn the time over to you, because your company was instrumental in helping start a Swiss apprenticeship style program here in Utah. And so I know you guys have a long-standing history with that. So can you please share with us what your experience has been, the why and the value, and anything you think is important to share with us?
So we are based in Switzerland. So we have an apprenticeship over there. We have actually a lot of apprenticeship over there. Even we only implemented 2 so far here in Salt Lake City. I would say a big challenge is that we don't know those apprenticeship here as we know them in Switzerland, and they are kind of established already over there, and we work with different industries. So I guess here it's a little bit, it was challenging to, just develop the curriculum and work with the school, so we get what we actually need. But I think we did a pretty good job. We have the first year's apprentice through the first year, and we are started with the second ones, and we learned from the first ones. I guess we are still learning. Also with the next cohorts, we're gonna gonna hire on, I would say. So it was a journey so far, but also with other things, like we restructured our production just recently, and then implementing the apprentice in there was a little bit a challenge, but it's great now. They are in their tax, as we are working in tax right now, and it's just cool to see those apprentice working with the normal employees, as Jake was saying, like the other the apprentice actually help the employees to learn new things. And I think this helps us as a whole company, giving them the opportunity to learn, and study at the same time. The career path is kind of clear. We also give them the opportunity to stay with us and then maybe go into an engineering degree path. So they will work with us 80% and then go 20% to school so they can proceed in engineering degree, or we offer them to stay with us and then maybe proceed in a leadership position. So that's really our intent, to keep them. But if they want to leave us after 3 years, that's completely fine too. And we hope maybe they come back later.
That's great, Naomi. And I know it took a real heavy lift and some real vision by the school district to in implementing this program. So we know that this is another example of where it takes a lot of buy-in from the company, from the school districts, from the parents to really figure out how to make all of these things work. I don't imagine you guys have had real issues with having students under the age of 18 work for your company where you've done it. How have you or any of the others gotten around that issue? That seems to be a roadblock that we get into is, hey, we want our staff to be 18, or it might not even be the company, it might be the liability insurance companies.
Well, we working with school, maybe Lucy can back up then a little bit on that. We actually have then a contract signed. So they turn 18 pretty soon into the program. So it's mostly the first year, which is critical, I would say. And they're still in high school. And then also, driving here, that was a big point, is still a big point. They actually, we arranged with the Salt Lake with the school district a bus, so they come with the school bus to the facility, and they are not allowed to come with their own car. So and that sometimes creates an issue too. If like someone has a doctor's appointment or so, then they want to come later, but that's not possible. But then after they turned 18 and then they are like in their second year, they drive with their own car. So that's something which we are dealing with a little bit. I don't know, Lucy, do you want to add something on the liability?
Sure. I think it's a lot broader than just that. There are a lot of issues with underage employees, but we've been able to work through it. I just want to back up a minute to the previous question and explain a little bit further about our apprenticeship program. So we have a true Swiss model apprenticeship program, which is a 3-year program. It starts their senior year in high school, and they come in, they take classes with Salt Lake with Salt Lake School District, and then come to us on B days. I think they're in school on A days. And then their second year and third year, we partner with Salt Lake Community College. So because we have these working arrangements with Salt Lake School District and Salt Lake Community College, we're pretty well covered in terms of the liability for minors. We clearly have, waivers for parents to sign and everything. But because we're a school program, we feel like that, that covers us pretty well. And as I'm sure everybody on this call in industries with heavy work and heavy manufacturing know that, we have a lot of safety protocols, and that really, as long as we follow those, we're not really worried about whether someone's 17 or 37, because as long as we really make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, I don't think liability is a huge issue for us. If we were roughshod, running over these things, then it would be an issue, but we're not. So the other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm sorry, I'm skipping back a little bit, is just that a couple of things you mentioned, Melissa, were number one, about sending kids in and having them identify what they want to do early on. And, we had that idea here too. That was my sort of idea, but I'm an American and I didn't go through a European model apprenticeship. And the thing I think that was the most surprising to me was that it doesn't really have to be that way. The skills that they gain in an apprenticeship are so helpful everywhere. So Noemi mentioned that our kids, so this is sort of the other thing I wanted to touch on, we pay their tuition through Salt Lake Community College. When they finish our program, they have a free, to them, associate's degree. And they can use that in a broad variety of ways. We're also, the next step, because we're only on our second year here, we're also already in contact with many of the universities to see what kind of tuition arrangement we can make for them to complete a degree, whether it's in business or in engineering or somewhere else. If you look at our company, we have people in production, but we also have people in procurement, we have people in sales, and the more technical knowledge, the more hands-on knowledge they have, the better they are at their jobs. And so we feel like these kids, they might be interested in the industry and they may well stay with this incredible skill set of a job that provides a great living to them when they're done, but they may also go into something else. And it wasn't wasted time. It was absolutely a benefit to them. So
I'm so glad you brought that up.
So that's kind of where we feel like there are benefits in every arena. We have the labor, we're creating a labor force that's good for us in all sorts of areas. And as Noemi mentioned, our trainers here, the people that work with the apprentices, really benefit from their ability to mentor and teach. And I just think overall, and we're able to give back to the community. It's our chosen philanthropy is, helping kids get an education. So it's just a win, 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 win everywhere.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Lucy. I really appreciate that perspective. And I think it's really important that they are learning valuable skills that are going to really cross and help them in any industry and really in everyday life. So that's great. Alexia, why don't we turn some time over to you? I know we are running short, so if you can wrap us up with the resources that are available and some of the things that are happening here that will help offset these costs, that would be great.
Absolutely. So what I will talk about some of the funding that we have throughout the state. Department of Workforce Services currently does have an apprenticeship grant. This is specific for programs that are registered with the Department of Labor. So you've heard a couple of people in our opening group mention their Department of Labor apprenticeship programs. So I'm just going to do a little plug there. If that is something you are interested in, but you feel like you want more information or assistance kind of navigating that process, I work very closely with our Office of Apprenticeship in the state, and you are always welcome to reach out to me, and I can be a resource in that process. So in terms of funding through our grant for registered apprenticeship programs, the apprentice himself is who applies and needs to be eligible for funding. So eligibility is they need to be at least 16 years old and able to work in the United States. And then instead of income guidelines, we have what I call situations. So you can be either unemployed or employed. So maybe you're working a few part-time jobs, maybe you can't find a full-time job, maybe you've got a fairly highly skilled background, but you haven't been able to work in that area, so you're working a lower skilled job. So those are all situations that we would lump under underemployed. Or you could be an incumbent worker. So we have a lot of employers that hire on their employees in lower skilled jobs, and then if they see potential or they feel like, yeah, this is going to be a good fit for our company, then they allow them the opportunity to go into apply for their apprenticeship program. So we can support individuals in that situation as well, which for workforce services is, like, for me specifically, is really exciting because a lot of our other funding that we have that can support apprenticeship is sometimes more difficult to be eligible for if you're already working. Then once the individual is eligible, we can pay for a few things. We can help with training costs. We can help with maybe things that are needed on the job, so tools or uniforms, things like that. And then we can also help with what we call on-the-job training. On-the-job training is actually funding that we issue back to the employer, and it equates to 50% of the apprentice's wages up to 6 months, up to $4,000. And it's really just to kind of offset some of those additional costs that employers incur when they're kind of pulling their experienced workers off to help train these new unskilled workers. The only other piece to know about this grant is you can't currently be an apprentice. So this would be for your new apprentices that you're looking to onboard. So we consider somebody to be an apprentice once they sign their Department of Labor paperwork. So if you were wanting your individuals to participate in this, usually we just recommend, hey, as you're kind of selecting them, refer them to Workforce Services to apply for this grant. As long as they apply before they sign the paperwork, they're fine. Moving on to funding outside of Workforce Services, we actually have four other apprenticeship grants going on in the state right now. Weber State currently has a grant for IT and IT-related occupations. So this doesn't need to be specific to an IT company, right? All companies have IT needs, so it's not specific to IT companies. And although Weber State has the grant spans the state, so other schools can be involved in this. They've also partnered with Apprentice. So Apprentice is an intermediary that kind of helps assume that role of the Department of Labor paperwork and some of the other things that has been mentioned in our presentations today. They also are able through this grant to do some on-the-job training funds for smaller employers that have less than 50 employees. The other grant we have, or one of the other grants, is through Southern Utah University. This is specific to cybersecurity for clean energy and manufacturing. So this is a newer grant. They're still kind of working through some of the processes, but they are looking to bring employers in. So if anybody is interested in that, you're welcome to reach out to me as well, and I can get you in touch with the right person at SUU. And then we have two HRSA grants, so that's through Human Services. And we have one with Utah State and another with the University of Utah. And these are for paraprofessional positions in behavioral health. So this is to really support individuals that are working with those who have substance abuse or other kind of behavioral health issues. So that's kind of a newer industry for apprenticeship, at least here in Utah. So that's kind of exciting as well. Is there any other programs I've missed? Like, these grants are coming so fast that sometimes it's hard to keep on top.
You know, we're learning about new ones all the time, and we're looking at other opportunities, and as they become available, we'll make sure that as we develop out our network, we can continue to make sure people are aware that these resources are available. So be looking for that in the coming months. You know, more information about the network, how to connect, where to find the resources. We'll have all of that information there available for you. I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. If you are a company that has trouble recruiting a skilled workforce, has difficulty retaining talent, wants to diversify your talent pool or your workforce, want to help train and educate your employees to your specific company needs, then an apprenticeship might be the right solution for you. And are we saying that you need to abandon everything else that you do in terms of recruitment and other programs that you have? Absolutely not. We just want to make sure that you have available to you, or that you know that this is an additional tool that could help you in these types of building solutions for your workforce and maintaining your economic stability now and in the future. So we want you to consider that. And the one last parting thought that I'll leave you with too, that one way we like to explain the difference between internships and apprenticeships is that an internship, we say, is a try before you buy model. You have some people come into your company, they may work for you for a short period of time, but they're not really working because they're an intern, so they may or may not be paid. But an apprenticeship is a train to retain model. You're training them because you want to keep them within your company. You're building loyalty with them, you're building the concept of lifelong learning, and you're showing them an avenue within your company as to how they can advance in their career. And that is something that helps and makes people want to stay. So we're right at an hour, and so I want to make sure that I'm cognizant of your time. I posted mine and Alexia's contact information in the chat there for you. Please feel free to reach out anytime. We're here available to you. If there's something that we didn't cover, we are more than happy to cover more in depth. Danny, I'm so sorry I missed your question. You asked about the peer support specialist training, and that peer support is the peer support workers and then family support specialists for that behavioral grant. There's a level 1 and a level 2 technician that they'll be working with. So if that's an additional information that you're looking for, please reach out. We can share that with you as well. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you guys in the apprenticeship space in the future, and we appreciate your support with apprenticeship programs, and hope that you continue to work with other businesses. Have a great day.